Swaroop. And with that, let's quickly dive into this news segment with some breaking inputs coming in. There clearly seems to be no lessons learned from the Morbi tragedy. As in the latest video that we are playing out to you, you can see tourists driving a car on a suspension bridge, this time in Yelappura in Karnataka. Clearly, there seems to have been no lessons learned from the tragedy that just took place a day ago. As we all know, there are several disadvantages to suspension bridges. This one, as you can see, is a suspension bridge in Yelappura in Karnataka. For more details, let's quickly go across to Harish, who's live with us. Harish, if you can take us through what's happening in this video, and have the authorities taken any action against the driver of this car?
Well, what we understand is that these are a bunch of tourists who come from Maharashtra, and they decided to drive on this suspension bridge in Yelappura. This is in the Uttar Kannada district of Karnataka, and that's when a few locals noticed it, and that's when they asked them to get off the bridge. And remember, this is a long bridge. Where the video has been shot is just around a few meters from the beginning of that bridge, and the locals insisted that they go back in the reverse gear, but despite that request, you had these tourists allegedly misbehaving with the locals and insisting that they will in fact drive forward and cross the entire bridge. The locals who were also aware of what had happened in Gujarat insisted that that can't be allowed, and that's when the local sentiment was clearly against these tourists, and a small crowd gathered over there. These tourists relented, and you can see in this video they start to go back in reverse gear, but largely once again exposing the kind of bridges or the kind of infrastructure that's in a way damaged by tourists or anybody else, and using it for purpose that it's not meant for. Remember, this is a suspension bridge across a river in Yelappur. This is not for motor vehicle traffic. This is only for pedestrians.
And since you mentioned that this is a suspension bridge, Harish, since you mentioned it's a suspension bridge, for the benefit of all our viewers, it's very important to highlight the disadvantages that suspension bridges come along. And it's also important to highlight how they are not a very strong support system, especially when it comes to supporting vehicular traffic.
Yes, remember, in most places in Karnataka, these suspension bridges, the ones that you see on the screen, that is not for heavy motor vehicle traffic. It's usually for pedestrians, for connecting two villages, people going to a particular farm or anywhere else. At the max, a few two-wheelers are allowed. In very rare circumstances do we see government building a suspension bridge where they know there will be heavy vehicular traffic, and even if it's built, then it would be built to carry that kind of a weight or the capacity. The ones that you see here, these are ones that you would see at multiple places, not just in Uttar Kannada and coastal Karnataka as well. There are small islands that get created because of the monsoon rain swelling few rivers over there, or because of backwaters. It is just connecting those villages. It's not for vehicular traffic. But you see tourists, or in some cases even locals, misusing these bridges, taking their vehicles, perhaps not just risking the stability of the bridge, but also risking the lives of other bridge users.
Harish, at the same time, there's also a silver lining to this entire video, which goes on to also highlight the role that the citizens and the locals have played over there, the kind of vigilantism that was taken on by these locals, and it is them to be credited for, stopping this person who could have just lost his life, and not just his life, perhaps could have left the bridge in a state of destruction. Having said that, has there been any information with regards to where this driver was headed?
Yes, a very important role played by the locals here. In fact, it's not a place that sees a lot of pedestrian movement as such. It's between two villages over there. But despite that, a few locals noticed that someone had brought their car, stopped them, also ensured other villagers gathered there, and then forced them to be to retreat. Remember, these tourists allegedly misbehaved to the locals as well. Locals who were insisting that this car can't pass through this bridge now. And you can see in this video barely that what looks like a Maruti 800 is barely managing to fit into that bridge carriageway, and still you see these tourists wanting to go forward with that particular car, and it's only when locals put their foot down, increase in numbers, and refuse to allow the car to go forward did they meet a retreat. But one would wonder what would have happened to the stability of this bridge if this car indeed had gone through. Many locals also saying that a lot of tourists these days coming over who want to click such photos are in fact damaging some of these bridges or even in some cases archaeological monuments.
Absolutely. In fact, the lessons have still not been learned from the Morbi tragedy, where 130 people lost their lives just a day ago. Having said that, Harish, has there been any action taken by the authorities of the town?
Well, no wording yet on if there was any formal complaint as such, or was it just locals who ensured or who averted perhaps a tragedy. But this would be seen as a fit case to book these visitors or these tourists for damaging government property over there, and also perhaps risking the lives of locals to use it on a daily basis.
Right. Harish, important to also talk about how this is a tourist spot at the same time, which is all the more reasons for, authorities locally to actually be present there to ensure that such stupidities do not take place on suspension bridges. And we've already learned, or rather been witness or privy to what happened in Morbi. If you could just throw light on how this place is frequently visited by tourists.
Well, two aspects here. There are several bridges across various rivers in Dakshina Kannada and Uttara Kannada, and some of these bridges are not a designated tourist place. So you do not have anyone giving out tickets for tourists or anyone regulating the flow of tourists. These are bridges that actually serve the purpose of connecting 2-3 different villages.
All right, Harish, I'm going to request you to stay with us. I'm also joined in by Mr. S. Prakash of the BJP. Mr. Prakash, what action is your government planning to take for actually tourists who are, should we say, are they illiterate? Are they uninformed? Why would they resort to such actions which can lead to destruction and loss of lives, as we've already seen in the case of Gujarat?
It's a very, very irresponsible act. The car must be seized, and all those who are with that car must also be arrested and should be tried. It's very unfortunate at the cost of one's life. These people are playing with it. Moreover, after the Gujarat tragedy, such incidents really scared. And we have not. It also shows no lessons have been learned out of it. So definitely, the government, police should immediately arrest them and seize that car.
No, as you rightly pointed out, certainly no lessons have been learned. That is why, what action is your government planning? Do you intend to teach such tourists any sort of lesson?
Wherever it has happened, the concerned police officer would have taken action against them. The option available to the police are only two things. They can be booked for negligence. Second, the car can be seized and they have to approach the court.
But none of this has happened so far, Mr. Prakash.
Pardon?
None of this has happened. Neither have they been booked, nor has the car been seized.
It has come to light now. I'm sure the police would definitely will take action against them. They should not be spared.
And as Harish, my correspondent, was also highlighting, Mr. Prakash, these areas are frequently haunted by tourists. It's important to send out a message so that these tourists are as responsible as the locals were. Had it not been for the vigilantism of these locals, there would have been yet another tragedy like Morbi's.